There was a group of men in New England before World War II started. Carl Compton, who was the president of MIT, Ralph Flanders, who was a senator from Vermont, they all realized coming out of the Great Depression that there was a huge problem with growing the economy, right? They called it the riskless economy. The animal spirits were pretty much destroyed by the Great Depression. All the investment companies were super conservative. They weren't putting their money to anything like risky. So a couple of these guys got together and they're like, we need to fix this if we want to actually get out of the depression. So they put together a team and they were about to start the venture capital fund, but then World War II started. So they put it on the back burner. Fast forward, the war ended, they revived it. They dusted off the plan, they got back together, and the first venture capital fund, they wanted to raise $5 million. They were only able to raise $3.5 million. So the first venture capital fund was $3.5 million. Half the money came from institutions. There's actually two connections to this area and Doriot. One is that the University of Rochester was one of the 4 LPs in the first venture capital fund. The other investors were MIT, University of Pennsylvania, and the other Rice University.
It's an unusual combination.
It's a weird combination. I don't know how Rice got in there, but great school. But who knew? So they raised that $3.5 million, and then the other connection is there was a woman who worked for American Research and Development named Dorothy Rowe. For 2 decades, she was actually the highest ranking woman in the venture capital industry. And it's really cool just to think about what's going on now with the industry and everything. That like he promoted her, he put her in positions of power. She was on the board of Digital Equipment Corporation, which was the first major success of ARD. And then I was just reading through the book this morning, and there was this great quote. She's like, feminism was popping up, and she says, the main thing I subscribe to in feminism is equal pay for equal work, and in that regard, I have no problem. So Doriot was ahead of his time in other ways I'm realizing now. So they got together, they put together the fund. It was really hard to raise money, and they were constantly struggling with lack of capital for the first 10 years of the firm. They were always like down to $1 million in their fund, and he was always worried about that, and it was a real struggle. And what ended up happening is they kept at it. Like Somak was saying, you could just, everyone in this room knows there's no such thing as an overnight success really in venture capital for the most part. It's really that grinding away process. So they realized 3 things. The 3 things they realized were the riskiest end of the spectrum is actually the most rewarding. They call them the long hair ideas, right? And that still holds true today. The ideas that you think are crazy are the ones that have the most potential. The other thing they realized was that it's all about patient investing, and it's all about not so much picking the company, but getting the company through the growing pains. That's the hardest part, right? And then lastly, they realized the most valuable part of venture was the technology side. And that seems kind of obvious today, but back then, nobody really had any faith in technology. The war was actually the main reason why people began to believe in technology, because technology won the war. Right. Technology made America victorious. So, and obviously the incredible efforts of the soldiers, but so they realized that if you invest in technology where you can have patents and know-how, you can actually defeat bigger, stronger companies. And that still holds true today.